Hi everyone. Okay, so today we are going to talk about what is in this CBT training program. Basically, you could cover a lot of this information if you were to read a few different books in therapy and CBT, or even if you were to go to CBT therapy. But what we've tried to do is to put all of the good stuff in this program. We've taken the best bits, so hopefully the idea is for it to be really interesting and really helpful. And sometimes when you're reading a lot of books, it can take a long time. Sometimes you've got to read through a lot of the boring bits. And so we've tried to cram as much good stuff in here as possible. So right now, what I'm going to do is run through all the key parts of the course and just give you a sense of what's going to be in it. One of the things we're going to be covering in the course is self-acceptance. What does that mean? Well, we live in a society where most of us have what we call conditional self-acceptance. If we're doing well, then we have a good opinion about ourselves. But if things aren't going so well, our job, our career, our relationships, then we have a negative view about ourselves. You might have heard that term, the inner critic. And that's something we're going to be looking at. We're going to be helping you to understand what those beliefs you have about yourself are and helping you to move to a place of self-acceptance. Rigid thinking is a really important part of the course. Now, I guarantee you, if you look at any situation in your life, you will find if there's a situation where you have negative emotion or negative stress, I guarantee you there will be a rigid belief at the heart of it. So one of the things we're going to look at the program is all of the different rigid beliefs that you have about yourself and about life in general. And those rigid beliefs might sound something like, I have to get things right. I must be this type of person. I must avoid that kind of situation. They're these beliefs that are I have to, I need to, I must. And we're going to dig into those in a bit more detail. So we're going to help you understand all of the difficult emotions. Now, interestingly enough, each emotion, whether it's anxiety, whether it's shame, whether it's guilt, whether it's jealousy, whether it's depression, each emotion has a particular flavor, a particular theme. Each emotion has us act and behave in particular ways. When we feel anxious, we have particular thoughts. When we feel anxious, we behave in a particular way. So on this program, we're going to map out each of the difficult emotions and help you to really understand what they're about and how they're relevant to you and the situations that you're dealing with. By the end of this course, you're going to know everything about emotions and how they work. One of the things we're going to teach you is emotional responsibility. What does that mean? Well, it means taking responsibility for your own emotions. We live in a world where it's kind of common to blame other people, blame situations, blame our upbringing, blame our parents for how we turned out. No doubt they all had a role to play, but ultimately when it really comes down to it, you still get to choose your emotional response, regardless of your upbringing, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of whether your life is going well or not. You get to choose your emotional response, how you feel about things, and that's something we're going to teach you in this program. We're going to look at core beliefs. What are core beliefs? Core beliefs are beliefs that we hold about ourselves. Generally speaking, they can be positive, but a lot of the time they're also negative. And these core beliefs, we will have learnt them in childhood when we were younger, and through our lives, we will have had different events, different experiences, which will have crystallized the core beliefs we hold about yourselves. Imagine that a core belief is a bit like a pair of sunglasses or a lens in which you look at your life through. And when you have that core belief, it flavors and shapes how you interpret and make sense of things. So we're going to be looking at what your core beliefs are, how they got created and how they impact you. And ultimately, if you do have negative core beliefs, we're going to be helping you to create healthier, more empowering beliefs. Life rules and assumptions. In CBT, we talk about rules, and all of us as human beings have rules to live by. We have our personal rules, and when our rules get broken, then we get our emotions triggered. So we're going to be looking at a lot of the rules that you've been brought up with, that you might have learned from your parents, and again how they affect you now in your present life. Socratic questioning and Socratic thinking. Now, you might have heard of a guy called Socrates. He was a famous Greek philosopher, I guess a Stoic philosopher. Now, he didn't have all the answers, but he knew the right questions to ask. And CBT is really about knowing what questions to ask, because if we can get better at asking questions about what we believe, then we can create better, more flexible, more logical, more practical, more empirical ways of thinking. So we're going to look at all the different ways and all the different types of questions you can use to question your negative beliefs. And that's very powerful. It's going to be a very powerful skill for this work, but also in the rest of your life in other situations. In my life, I try to get better at learning to ask questions and ask the right sort of questions. So that's a part of the course that I'm really excited about. Flexible thinking. So on the course, you're going to learn firstly that it's rigid thinking and rigid thoughts that are really at the heart of emotional distress. On the flip side, when we can create more flexible ways of looking at life, flexible ways of thinking about ourselves and our own behavior and the people around us, then we can learn to go with the flow and have a bit more fun and enjoy life. So we're going to teach you flexible thinking on the course. Cognitive distortions. So in CBT, they teach various different, I guess you could call them thinking errors, or ways that we think about reality, ways that we think about other situations that can cause emotional distress. And there's many different types of cognitive distortions out there, and I'm sure you might have heard of some of them. There's cherry picking. That's, for example, where you just cherry pick the information you want to look at. We choose the data, we choose the aspects of a situation while ignoring the other aspects. There's generalizing, where we might say that, one thing happens, and then we say this happens all the time. That's an example of generalizations. There's polarized thinking, where something's either black or it's white. That's a polarized way of looking at things. And a lot of the time we realize, well, in actual fact, the truth is more nuanced. Maybe you think you're all bad. Maybe you think somebody else is all bad. But in truth, well, maybe they're not totally bad. Maybe they've got some good aspects. And maybe you're not totally good. Maybe you've got some bad aspects. As human beings, it's very difficult to judge ourselves globally. And that's one of the things we're going to be looking at in the course. There are other types of cognitive distortions that we're going to be digging into as we go. We're going to be looking at the ancient philosophy behind cognitive behavioural therapy. In actual fact, the original CBT was something called REBT, Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy. That was created by a guy called Albert Ellis, and he based his philosophy on ancient wisdom. And that was the Stoics, the Buddhists, scientific philosophy. So we're going to be digging into all of that. Life patterns and schemas. Life patterns are essentially patterns that we can see in our life. All of us have patterns, and CBT helps us to look at some of the patterns, the belief patterns, the thought patterns, and the situation patterns that allows us to work out what our core beliefs are, what our rigid thoughts are, and to understand how these thoughts and beliefs have shaped our life, how they've shaped our way of seeing things, and how they shape the results that show up in our life. So that's going to be a really exciting part of the course. So we are going to give you the tools, the techniques, the information, and as you know, and as I said before, with CBT, it's something you can learn, it's something you can master. And with all the information in this course, you're going to be able to use it on your own problems, your own emotions, your own challenges, and we're going to give you everything you need to know to make that happen. So, yeah, I know CBT does sometimes have a bad reputation. Some people think it's too cognitive. Some people think it's too boring. Some people think it's too robotic or automatic. And I wanted to let you know that the program we teach is going to be anything but that. One of the reasons I love CBT so much is because I think it's very dynamic and there's many different areas to it. And I guarantee you that the structure of CBT reflects many of the other wisdom traditions out there. They all have a different aspect of the same thing. And I think in that regard, CBT is revolutionary. So hold on tight. I think you'll enjoy this program. And if you do have any questions about that, you can just drop them underneath this video. So why me? Well, look, I am a CBT therapist, I'm a CBT coach, I've designed CBT programs for apps and well-being companies, I've taught CBT at universities, and I've got my own practice. I think I've got the credentials for teaching this program, and I'm excited about sharing it with you. So look, we're almost ready to go. We're almost ready to begin the program. Just the last few moments before we get going. So I guess you're asking, what do you need? Well, look, you don't need much to begin. You're gonna need a pen, so hopefully you've got one of those. You're gonna need a notebook. It's always good to have a notebook around. Take notes. It's good to process your feelings, to process your thoughts, process your ideas. You're gonna need some time just to watch the videos and do the notes. And then you're just gonna watch the videos. That's it. And again, if you've got any questions, just let me know. I can answer them in one of the videos, or I can deal with them if you message under the video. So that's it, guys. I'm looking forward to going on this journey with you, and I'll catch you later.